The Spinosaurus made its first appearance on TV 24 years ago. That's right, if you're old yet, it appeared in Jurassic Park 3, being the big villain dinosaur in the movie instead of the T-Rex. Since then, it has become a fan favorite. But here's the thing, Spinosaurus' appearance has changed a lot over the years. You can even see that Universal Studios themselves are changing its design in the brand new movie Jurassic World Rebirth. There has been a lot of conflict around this dinosaur, like what was its sail for, or what shape was its tail? Well, in this video, we're about to answer all those questions and more, and see why its appearance changed over the years. So stick until the end to learn the truth about the Spinosaurus. Now, before starting to uncover the truth around this dinosaur, we need to do a bit of history. We have to go back to around 1912 when it was first discovered by German paleontologist Ernst Stromer. Probably said that wrong. He found fossils of the skull, vertebrae, and distinctive sail-like neural spines in Egypt. He thought that it had to be a massive theropod, but not like the T-Rex. No, this one was different. He even hypothesized that it lived in a river-like environment. Unfortunately though, the original fossils were destroyed. That's right, during a World War II raid. So for the next decades, we had nothing but Stromer's documentation to know about the Spinosaurus. But in the 90s and early 2000s, we started finding more fossils from the Spinosaurid group, making us better understand the species. However, all of that changed in 2014, when a paleontologist called Nizar Ibrahim and his team discovered new spinal remains in Morocco. They found fossils of a long skull, kinda like a crocodile, and more importantly, elongated neural spines forming a sail. So the paleontologists proposed that the Spino was in fact a semi-aquatic dinosaur, meaning it could swim and spend a lot of its time in waters. Their interpretation was actually quite controversial, since we normally thought theropods to be fully terrestrial. Next, in 2020, the team of paleontologists and Ibrahim kind of proved themselves by discovering an almost complete spino tail. And surprisingly, it was paddle-shaped, just like crocodile tails. So that's about it for the discoveries of this animal. But there's still a lot more to learn, like its behavior and biology, which we'll uncover right now. So far, we know what it looked like quite well, but its appearance can change again with more discoveries. Now you can see why the Spino from Jurassic Park 3 looks like this, because it's quite accurate for its time actually. It also means that the Spino gang in the new movie is also kinda accurate, but there's still debate around that. The modern look of the Spinosaurus is a long snout, a huge sail-like spine, and a paddle-like tail, around 3 meters tall and 15 to 16 meters long, making it the longest land carnivore ever, dethroning the T-Rex. And not the largest though, that probably still goes for the T-Rex. Now let's take a deeper look at its spine. Spinosaurus literally means spined reptile. The spine was an entire structure supported by bony rods, and it wasn't a solid plate like with turtles. These neural spines were actually quite long, reaching lengths of 1.65 meters for the longer ones. And just like the Spino's overall description, the shape of its sail has been reconstructed differently through time. That's why the older versions have this round shape and the more modern versions have this wavy form. But the most important thing is obviously what the use of its sail was, apart from making paleontologists argue with each other for a long time. There were a lot of hypotheses, and some wacky weird ones, like the spine could have been used to store fat, yeah, just like camels. Fortunately, paleontologists came in clutch and rejected this idea because the spines were too thin to support such a function. Another theory is that it could have been used for thermoregulation, or heat control to put it into simpler terms, meaning that the Spino used it to absorb or dissipate heat, like the ears of an elephant or even the Stegosaurus, who could have used its plates in the same way. Let me know in the comments if you want a video on that dino, by the way. Again though, this idea wasn't supported as much since the spine in its entirety was thin, therefore lacked many blood vessels, making it inefficient for temperature regulation. One hypothesis that is really cool if it were true is that it could have been used for the Spino's aquatic adaptation. I mean, it literally looks like a sail, so it might have helped the Spino stabilize in water while swimming. Unfortunately, this is also a long-going debate, but we all know the real reason the sail was there: for the drip. Jokes aside, what I mean is it was used for visual display, just like modern lizards' crests or peacock feathers, to attract mate, or signal dominance within its species, or even intimidate rivals. This also means that the sail might have had bright colors and even patterns. Other dinosaurs had similar sails, like the Uranosaurus, which had elongated spines for similar display functions, or the well-known reptile Dimetrodon, which also had a sail for display and even thermoregulation. So we might never actually know what the use for Spino's sail was, but the most supported hypothesis of all is the one saying it was used for display. But the ones talking about thermoregulation and aquatic regulation could be true as well and are still being debated. Just like everything else about this dinosaur, the Spino's behavior is something that's changed throughout the years. As always, like every good scientist does, paleontologists gathered all the clues they could through fossils. Let's take a look at its hunting and feeding behavior. Compared to the mighty T-Rex, the Spino didn't have serrated teeth. That means that it was more specialized in grabbing instead of slicing its prey. So that in return got paleontologists thinking, and they hypothesized that this dinosaur hunted fish. Yes, the Spino was actually a fish eater, or piscivore. There's other evidence to support this theory too, like the shape of its snout, similar to crocodiles, and more importantly, it also had sensory pits that would help it hunt fish by ambushing prey. Another sign pointing us to its fish-only diet is the fact that fossil evidence of this dino shows us that it lived in ecosystems filled with giant fish like sawfish, lungfish, and coelacanths, allowing it to feast when it wanted. Like we've been discussing since the beginning of this video, the Spino could probably swim. It obviously couldn't swim like other marine reptiles, but it's more of a slow ambush predator, reaching speeds of 5 to 10 kilometers an hour. Although it could probably swim, it might not have been as good as other theropods on land, like in running for example, because its limbs were pretty short, so it could clock speeds around 7 to 14 kilometers an hour. It was also less agile compared to predators like the infamous T-Rex. It wouldn't have moved far from riverbanks. And like most of the larger theropods, it would have been a solitary predator. But just like crocodiles, it could have also coexisted with other Spinos. So the Spinosaurus was a semi-aquatic dinosaur living near rivers and lakes during the Cretaceous period, eating around 150 kilograms of fish. But unlike the T-Rex, which supposedly ate larger meals and waited some time before hunting again, the Spino ate more frequently but in smaller amounts. So now we know what this dino looked like and how it hunted. But what about sound? Like always, I have to say recreating dino sounds is really complicated. We have to factor a lot of different things, but as research improves, we're obviously getting better at making hypotheses. So get ready to hear some Spino noises. There you have it. As always, thanks to the YouTube channel Studio for these 6 sounds. Link to their channel in the description. Feel free to check it out. In conclusion, we've now managed to make out a picture of the Spinosaurus. And you know what kind of a dino it was. A big theropod staying close to rivers or swamps, hunting fish in the water, sometimes swimming, or just chilling. Unless of course, you're watching this video in the future and the Spino changes again. But you could subscribe so that I could update and release a new video and you would be the first to know. If you enjoyed this video, you will love this one on some other theropod, don't know if you heard of it. I'll see you in the next one.